Hello everyone. It's been a while. Mostly new setup, trying to get things configured, looking back at this camera and just going, I need to upgrade. Well, that's why I'm setting up a budget for that, setting up a budget for various amount of things. And this kind of all fits into a couple of reflections that I've had while I didn't have the net. As you know, I've recently moved. I love the new place. It took a while before getting the internet, and I was filling my head with audiobook, trying to get, further with self-help, trying to understand further a couple of things when it comes to drawing, and it's been quite entertaining, to say the least. Mostly because, once you cut yourself off from the news, you focus on your work, you focus on learning. I even went back to my old John Navarez DVD from 2009, and I picked up some new things as I was going along, and it was just fun. Basically not worrying about anything or not getting caught by the news until, an outsider would talk about a certain event and such. And it kind of got me to think, again, trying to push towards this positive spin and trying to be less negative. And it's been, I keep saying and, I'm going to have to worry about that later. Yet, what I've noticed is it has helped. When it comes to drawing, I feel much more free-flowing. I've been testing out different pencils. Even while you see here, I was testing out a Palomino pencil, which I like. Blackwing pencil, which is the equivalent of a 2B but a tad bit smoother. And there you go, I see it again. Mixing it in with the 10B, loving it. So from passing to one to another, I've been figuring out what's been going on. What are my preferences? Where does my flow go when I take a specific pencil, and just noting those down, keeping a couple of notes on the side of the paper to tell myself, okay, well, look, when you use this certain tool, this is how you feel. So maybe you go a tad bit looser. Maybe you're able to get chisel your lead to give yourself a finer tip that'll help you doing certain curves, and just taking some notes as I draw, but not necessarily keeping myself stuck in a specific way, just letting loose and seeing what comes of it. Even though for this one I kind of went against this specific code, because this is part of a commission, the Street Fighter style commission that is still back in action but bumped up to $40, because it's taking me a bit more time, plus I'm adding more shading to it, as you'll notice. I'll show you the final result at the end of the video. Yet I loved it, because just taking notes and not trying to be aggressive, just saying everything is a step, it's a step to go further. Taking notes while watching other videos as well, taking notes while reading tutorials, taking notes while going to the self-help. And there's this amount of bliss that comes from positive thinking, positive spin, and not getting dragged down into negativity. It's hard to explain. Basically, you're kind of floating to a certain degree. You're no longer worried. Even when it comes to the news, okay? That worry, those thoughts never pop up in your head as you are doing what you want to do, as you're having fun doing your work. Why? Because you're keeping away from that, and you want to stick to, you want to bring some positivity to your drawing. You want to stick to that positive energy. And it is weird to say it like that. Believe me, at first I never really thought I would jump into this kind of thinking. I would never see myself pulling this off years earlier. Like 10 years ago, I wouldn't expect talking like this or even considering this to be an option. Yet the more I dive into it, the more I feel like it's helping me both business-wise, both life-wise, and in my art. So it's not staying stuck with rules, but making, proper analysis and having fun with your work, having fun with life, and not bogging yourself down with every little negative thing that can happen. Arguments could happen, yet you got to ask yourself, okay, well, do I want to continue the argument from my side, or just do I want to let it go? Is it even going to bother me? Is it going to keep me up at night? Do I really care about this argument? And when you really think about it, you're like, no, I don't. I really don't. It's not really influencing my life at all. And even when you may have a person that will actively come at you, let's say example, when it comes to my parents, hence why we don't really talk, or we have this 1 year break. Well, it's like, well, boom, 1 year break. I really don't need to deal with you. I wish you the best. I don't wish you ill, which is something I'm slowly changing, all right? I do not wish you ill, yet I do not want to bother with your how would you say that in a less aggressive term? I wouldn't want to bother with your, let's say, mental illness in a sense, or your psychological illness. If you're gonna start shaming people through ideology, religious, or whatever, it's an illness. You're basically pushing on your negativity onto others, and frankly, I don't want to deal with that. So, good luck with your life. I don't wish any harm for you, but I'm gonna be over there having fun and enjoying life, So having this switch and all this, basically not having any kind of interaction on the internet, not even checking emails. And it's been tough because I'm still working on certain contracts, so I had to bum off Wi-Fi from my local bank until I finally have the internet to upload this video. It's been tough, yet at the end of it, without considering the business aspect of it all, it has been a great time. And the second step would be to find a work method, or maybe a carrying method to start doing some work outside. And that's a tad bit tougher in my case because, as you see, I'm using a different set of pencil. I have a light on the drawing. I have a huge drawing board with the beast paper that I ordered that finally came in. You see it in action. I'm loving it. And I do have a set, a good set amount of pencils, but I have 2 carrying bags, so that's not a biggie issue. It's just finding a good setup to work outside would be great. I already have my music, my references. I can bring them on the tablet or on my phone, so just seeing which would be the best place. I don't want to go to Starbucks. I don't know why. Mostly the stigma, or just the people stuck on their cell phone when it comes to that. Even though I could easily ignore it, but I do not feel like Starbucks would be a good place for doing this kind of work, on this big size paper. Who knows? I'll check it out whenever the time comes up, or whatever feels right. Gotta give a shot to everything, okay? And who knows, I might give a shot to a Starbucks. Yet, it felt like having a retreat outside of a zone of negativity. Or the double-edged sword, which I call the internet. You can find some great stuff on the internet, some great communities, but there's always going to be the other edge of it where you'll land on these kind of, those clickbaity news, people shoving this same kind of stuff on Facebook, and it catches your eye and it gets you to think for a second because, these clickbait titles, man, they're made by experts. They are experts at getting your attention. So those titles will stick in your mind and you're like, should I check it? Maybe I should check it. It sounded really interesting, but I have other things to do. Let's go check it. So, I don't know. It just felt much better just leaving all that away. And refocusing on better planning, having much better planning for what I want to do, what I want to offer, and how I want to offer. Again, as you see, I didn't do the inking thing. I just went with line work. And even then, while I was doing this, I thought of 2 or 3 different ways to make it better. So next ones are going to be 10 times better. in my point of view, because I took notes of certain tools and certain techniques that I can use to push it, you know. At the same time, when it comes for business, well, the main objective that I have right now is trying to give my support with art assets as much support as I can. I'm doing as much as I can for Dark Elite Studio on their latest project. I'm doing these kind of Street Fighter style profile pics. There is also the French Quebecer YouTuber group that I've done a 14 character poster. They took out an arm, a leg, and a nut to do it, yet it was grand, it was huge, it was a huge experiment, and I'll see if I can post it or leave a link on the official post on their channel once it's all set up. They still need to put their banner, because I wasn't going to redo the banner on their set budget. They didn't have the budget for a full redo, yet they have a great type of poster. So trying to go further with that, but using the techniques as you see on screen, the techniques that I like, not limiting myself to digital inking, which is a tad bit ironic because I did their poster using digital inking, yet for the 14 character type of job it had to be done. Or else maybe I thought of various different techniques that I could have used, and all of them would require double up the time, which is not within their budget. So gotta work with what you got, you know. You gotta work with what's going on and enjoy the process. And the more I keep pushing that way, the more I can stack up revenue for my own personal project. I also got really inspired while going to a convention. Somebody brought up the subject of Mega Tokyo, which is a manga I've heard about like back in the days 2009, and I checked it recently again, and it's like this guy was doing 1 page per day. And it's like, huh, 1 page a day, line work, and you didn't even need to make it that complicated. Guess what? Apparently that seems to have filled me with determination. It was quite inspiring just to get that, because I'm like, wow, I can do that. I can try and take that on. And seeing that I'm going in a similar vein, it's like, okay, you know what? The Extra Stage remake could get around with that kind of flow. I just need to have a proper setup, and this is where I have to focus on giving right now. Just giving out, well, in a sense, quote unquote, giving my talent, offering my services to people, getting that flow going, and then I'll have enough, you know, stability to begin my proper projects. Just like the Pad of Peace, just like Extra Stage Remake, and just like the little animation I was talking about. It's having a proper build-up, a proper financial build-up. Because every time I would try to get back to these projects, I always have to jump back on freelancing, and that's how do you say that? It's the truth you can't escape. You need revenue. In general, you need revenues. You can't just, you know, unless the stars are aligned, you'll be able to start something up without any revenues. Maybe you're living at your parents' place, or you have some kind of financial backup. But without financial revenue or financial stability, starting your own project is very, very, very difficult. Of course, there's multiple percentage of what ifs, like getting picked up by a studio and yada yada yada. But there's too many what ifs to basically tell yourself, well, look, it's a great idea. You gotta, you know, it's kind of like an investment, you know. You gotta weigh the pros and cons, but not consider all the cons to weigh you down. Basically having smart planning and understanding that your situation doesn't really allow it for it right now doesn't mean that you can't prepare for it in the future. Yet for the moment being, set up something else. It's a tad bit of a balance, and frankly I've come to understand that. So right now, let's get that planning done, that base done, let's get those jobs done, and While all this is happening, I'm taking more and more notes for Extra Stage. I'm trying to do some redesigns on the side because some of the old concepts I just do not want to deal with. And we'll see what goes. And the same goes for the Pad of Peace, except at one morning, I'm just gonna say, that's it. This episode has to go. I'm done. That's it. Let's go. Boom. And that one morning, I'm just gonna record the rest. It's kind of nuts. A part of it has to do with visualization in order to give yourself that extra boost, that extra motivation, that extra knowledge that you are seeing your end result, you're seeing your end product. It is actually there and you're seeing how it goes. Believe me, it's weird. I'm not explaining it the right way, but it's kind of like seeing your end project on a YouTube video in your mind. You get that motivation. You want to see that project, any kind of project, even a comic, you know, you want to see that project true. And you just get that extra kick to push further. And you just do it. But all this requires balance. It's not that easy. Not saying that it's not easy, but it requires balance, okay? And again, as you guys saw from the last few months, it's been ping-ponging from side to side, but at least I'm learning. If I wasn't learning, then I wouldn't have these realizations and I wouldn't get anything done on either side, both business and personal aspect or personal projects. So it's fun. It's been a fun set of months, and keeping notes down, like I'm hired to purchased even more sheets, blank sheets to update the big folio with notes, and trying to get myself into a schedule of every time at night revise it and see what are the best ideas that I can try and go further with the next morning or during the week, in order to bring myself to a better state, to compete with my better self, you know, to get to be better than me yesterday. Because yesterday's not today, and yesterday I said tomorrow, and tomorrow is right now. So I want to beat my tomorrow, which is right now, thus planning for tomorrow. Word fumbling, all of that. Anyway, I'm joining on, but this has been the move. A couple of days without the net has been great. So I'm going to try to keep that habit. I'll keep up to date with messages, of course, yet less frequently. There's going to be schedules for that. And when it comes to posting, that's going to be going a lot further, mostly because when it comes to drawing, I have a camera set up, as you've noticed. Even though the lighting's not that great, a budget's going to be placed for a second light and another kind of camera to actually do 1080p. So we'll see where it goes. All right. Thank you for the patience, and an actual breakdown, analytical breakdown of the process when it comes to the drawing is going to be on Patreon tomorrow. So for the Patreon subscribers, I haven't forgotten about you, and this week should be full of stuff because I gotta I gotta recuperate for everything. But you live and learn. Living on the edge of tomorrow, something like that. Sega, please do not. Later, guys.